Angry guy here, and men are abandoning society and living in luxury. Guys, if you're enjoying this content, please help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers on our journey to 2 million by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. But let's begin. Men are abandoning society and living in luxury. You know, let's look at this comment. I found this comment to be pretty interesting. This is from one of my subscribers. He said, I already cracked the $1 million mark, and you never look at me and think that guy is a millionaire. I don't own any jewelry. I don't drive a fancy car, and I live in a modest condo. I've got a couple buddies I talk finance with that are also doing well off, and my dad knows what I have. Beyond that, it's easy to hide when it's mostly in stocks. I'm not going to consider buying a nice car or a big house for a financial flex like a lot of people do. I'm just going to retire in my early 40s and move abroad. And I'm sure I'll leave a lot of people scratching their heads wondering how I retired so early when, like I said, I don't give off the vibe of having money at all. And this is pretty interesting. I talked about it many times how you all often have these guys, if you go back decades ago, go back to the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, you'd have crazy Uncle Roger. People say, crazy Uncle Roger, he just picked up and left and went to this country named Costa Rica. What is that place? Or Vietnam, or some unheard of place like Laos, and he just never came back. And people are like, oh, crazy Uncle Roger. Little did they know, crazy Uncle Roger made a bunch of money in the markets, or crazy Uncle Roger made a ton of money working as a hot dog vendor, whatever. And he took, through careful saving and investments, he took off when he was like 40 years old, or in his late 30s, maybe 50, and he moved away to a place where, where he was respected and happy. He created a business there, and that was really it. And it's crazy. Many people don't realize that the men with the bread are these dudes who are done with Western society. They're done with the nonsense in Western society. They're not flexing. They live simple lives, but they have millions of dollars in the bank. They have tons of dollars and tons of money in the bank, and no one would ever know. And I've talked about it. I said that the guys with the money, are the guys that walk around and you would never think they had a dime to their names. Some of these wealthy men are wicked, and not wicked in the sense of that they're bad people, but they're kind of wicked because they will drive around in beaters. They will drive around in beaters. Okay, there was one guy who said something in my comments like, "Every wealthy man needs to have a beater. Every wealthy man needs to have a beater." Like, this is how sad it is. Like, imagine, guys, this wealthy dude pulling up in this beater that's making, like, the engine is making sounds and everything, and this thing is it's from like 1995, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, look at this broke dude! Look at this broke boy! What are you, like 50 years old and you're driving like this? Oh my gosh!" These guys, that's what I mean by what I say. These guys are wicked. Like, these guys do this type of thing all the time. You'll have billionaires doing this type of thing, driving around in beaters, walking around in clothes that don't fit. Oh my gosh. Deliberately trying to make it look like these are like they're broke, and like they don't really have it like that. Like, they don't look like they smell. They look like they're decently dressed, and the car isn't dirty, but it's like old, and it's like nobody's gonna, like, who in their right mind is gonna drive around in this? Now, keep in mind, some of these old beaters, they were luxury vehicles back in the 90s, but today it's like, it's like, come on, bro, this is an old car. For them, though, this car is in great shape. The engine is in pristine shape. The AC works great. The seating it's heated seating. It's automatic windows. has a great engine in it. Sometimes these guys will change out the engine, put an even better engine in there. Everything on the car runs excellent, and low do and so they're living great lives. They've got money in the bank, and everyone thinks that they're broke, so no one wants to approach him, and they just ignore these dudes. And these dudes are just living their lives, like literally walking into a house. Like they'll go to a baseball game, buy some food and everything, and people won't even think twice. Like, this is a dude with money, and you won't even notice when this guy walks right past you and goes and sit in sits in like the luxury box and is just chilling. Like, no, because no one will, guys. This guy will walk out of the luxury box area, and people will think like, oh, this guy's like a little, like a nobody. Like, he must have been in the wrong place, or maybe he's grabbing food for someone. Maybe someone rich invited him there, because no one like this is going to be up there. This is how these dudes are living their lives. This is how these guys are living their lives. They're pretty bad. Pretty bad. And I've told you, when I tell you about some of these guys who like sleep on the floor, they like literally live on a sleeping bag. I have some, I do have some comments for you guys from some of these guys, who talk about it like they literally sleep on the ground, and they're very, very comfortable sleeping on the ground, and it's a happy life for them. Like, they literally sleep, like one guy said to me, like, angry, I've been sleeping on a sleeping bag for years. Like, that's just how I've been living. And it's just like a continuous thing with these guys. Continuous thing. These guys are very happy, very comfortable living this way, and they're not going back, because they're single, they're happy, they're free, they don't have any bills, they don't have any expenses, they don't have any stress, everything's paid for, and it's like, they can pick up and take off whenever they want to, and no one knows what they have or who they are, and it's just like, it's an absolute joy for them. It's an absolute joy for them, being able to live this way and have that type of freedom. And it's like, women seem to think that, men haven't adapted, and they don't even realize that a lot of these men have adapted. These men have adapted so much that now they basically live like people that women would not want to ever approach, or want to ever approach them. Like, these dudes are deliberately trying to be the kinds of guys that women would overlook. Like, there's no me tooing these guys, because you will never see them. These guys are out here in society, literally practicing social distancing in society. Like, they're basically distancing themselves from everyone. And like the example I gave you guys from this guy, he has a couple of buddies that he talks finance with. The only person that knows he's got cash is his dad, and he's going to retire and take off and leave the country in his early 40s. When he leaves the country, guys, you have to think about this. These are the men that create money and jobs in society. And what are these guys doing? They're leaving. They're leaving. They're leaving, or they're withdrawing from society. So when these guys pick up and they leave society, what do? They go overseas and they create value overseas. I said this already. Men are going to build empires overseas. Men are going to create empires all around the world. Y'all think Africa is a joke? Africa is an emerging economy. By come 2029, Africa should be able to feed themselves. In other words, they should be able to produce enough food to feed the entire continent. When that happens, Africa will be basically the continent, not just a specific country in Africa. The continent will become a place where it is now an emerging economy. All of Africa will become an emerging economy. The entire continent, because Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. There are many countries in Africa, but Africa will be able to feed itself. The continent will be able to feed itself. So the entire continent will become a massive emerging economy like the world has never seen before. And their population is set to explode massively. Like, eventually, their population will overtake the Chinese within the next 100 years. This is frightening, guys. So there's so many there's tons of work that has to be done in Africa. Tons of land that's available, tons of infrastructure that needs to be built. You know, the rules, like, literally, it's a blue ocean. So there's all these people, all of this available opportunity, and men are going to go overseas and they're going to become absolutely wealthy. And it's not just going to be in Africa. A lot of these other countries, Colombia, Costa Rica, I mean, got a lot of crap countries, even the Philippines. Think about this very carefully. Right now, the Philippines is a developing economy. However, with more and more foreigners going over there and starting businesses in the Philippines, that's going to create more opportunities. And by these people creating more opportunities, because they're going to because these foreigners have access to large amounts of capital compared to the relative to the average Filipino. So they can get a loan from the United States for 10, 20, $30,000, even a couple $100,000, and they can build an empire in these countries. And what does that do? It creates new jobs. Now, what happens when you have a bunch of people doing that? It doesn't take a ton. Let's say you have a couple hundred guys that are doing this in the country. Guys, that could generate anywhere from hundreds of millions to potentially billions of dollars. Especially when you have guys that say, okay, well, you know what, we can create a new industry here, for cellular devices, or we can create a new industry here for homes, or for a bunch of different things. And once they start doing that and laying that infrastructure, what's going to happen? You're going to have other companies, larger companies, that are going to say, we want a piece of that too. They're going to have a lot of people running over to the Philippines, and suddenly, it's going to lift a ton of people out of poverty. Keep in mind, the Philippines, they have a lot of their people in the Philippines, they're highly educated, extremely highly educated. They have tons of degrees. So this is going to create new opportunities. And then keep in mind, the cost of living is still going to remain relatively cheaper, lower than the United States. So again, this is going to create even more opportunities for people from Western society to go over there. And it's not going to just be there, it's going to be in many other countries. So like I said, these men are going to go overseas and they're going to build empires. All right. And these men, they're abandoning society and living in luxury, simple luxury. Guys, what do you think about everything we discussed here today? I want to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed these videos, please help get this channel to 100,000 subscribers on our journey to 2 million by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. Men are abandoning society and living in luxury. What do you guys think about everything we discussed here today? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.